Bonjour.
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 Bonjour tout le monde.
Bonjour. Alors, on commence. Il y aura sûrement des gens qui continueront à nous rejoindre. Bonjour et bienvenue à vous tous. Nous sommes ravis de vous accueillir aujourd'hui parmi nous pour ce nouveau webinaire qui est autour du short programme Industrial Decarbonization through CCUS Value Chains. Le webinaire sera animé en anglais, mais cela ne vous empêche pas de poser vos questions en français ou bien en anglais sans aucun problème. Nous essayerons durant le temps que nous aurons ensemble de répondre à l'ensemble de vos questions. Alors, before delving further into the topic of our webinar, let me briefly introduce the Executive Education Science and Technology as a strategic direction within UM6P. Its objective is to strengthen Morocco and Africa's position in the fields of science and technology. It offers diverse and customizable executive training programs rooted in practice, enabling professionals to effectively apply new knowledge in their workplace. Without further delay, many have joined on time, and there will surely be people who continue to join us. As you know, industrial decarbonization through CCUS value chains is at the forefront of current concerns. This approach is essential in our fight against climate change. We will try to cover as many points as possible during this webinar, and we will start by presenting the context, benefits, and opportunities of this training. Then we will briefly discuss the course structure. We encourage you to ask any questions you may have throughout this webinar, and we will do our best to answer them clearly and concisely. You can ask your question in the chat at any time, and in any case, at the end of the webinar, we will have a dedicated questions answering session to discuss any points you wish to clarify. Now, without further delay, we are honored to have with us today our guest professor Abdelghafour Zabout, Associate Professor at UM6P. Mr. Zabout, you have the floor.
Thank you, Kautar. Hello, everyone. I'm pleased to have you with me here. So just to put you in the context of the decarbonization, so I will spend half an hour speaking about CCUS as knowledge-based emerging industry with a strong potential for Morocco and Africa. It will be myself and then supported by Professor Belmkhout, who I suppose should be here or at least will connect. So, but if not, then I will be here as well. Kautar already mentioned that I will be first putting it in the context of the decarbonization, why we do this, and what is the international context that is dictating adopting the decarbonization, why CCUS, CO2 capture, utilization, and storage is important in this aspect of decarbonization, what are the available CCUS value chains that the industries can adopt, and what are the criteria for selecting them. Incentives for decarbonization, are there any incentives or industries are just forced to take it? And then I will finish with the training program that will be about CCUS, decarbonization through CCUS at UM6P. A little bit about me. So I have over a decade of expertise in development and assessment of CCUS technologies from a number of countries. The largest experience was from Norway. So we were developing technologies that are addressing decarbonization in different sectors, hydrogen, cement, and many others. And then those ones, we take them to the scale up until they become basically mature for implementation in industrial context. What I'm doing here at UM6P ASER, so the current activities, we are dealing with several decarbonization aspects of phosphate industry mainly, but we're also touching into the other aspect, which is cement and energy and many other aspects. And we look into identification of CCUS value chains with high added value to the green hydrogen and biogenic waste for the Moroccan initiatives. The approach that we are using, it combines basically a multidisciplinary approach that is linking the material development, process simulation, assessment, thermodynamics, life cycle. And then we take all of this, we compile them into an approach where it brings the design of a specific selected technology that is respecting different criteria. And we take those ones through the scale-up ladder. So this is what we basically are doing. Why we do all of this? International context. So everyone knows that there are record CO2 emissions in the atmosphere, and the CO2 concentration are substantially high. The emissions, we are now at 40 gigaton of CO2 per year. So this is 1,000 million ton per year of CO2 that is going to the atmosphere. There are several scenarios for bringing those CO2 emissions down, and you see them basically here. The first one, the light blue, this is the net zero one, and this is targeting basically maintaining the temperature of the global warming below 2 degrees Celsius. And there is the toughest one, which is the 1.5 degrees Celsius. And for this one, if you see the zero here, we will have to go negative, meaning that at some stage we'll have to start sucking CO2 from the atmosphere and then removing it completely. So for a permanent storage. And this one dictates basically that we develop technologies that they can do this. All right. And I will take you through this. How we are going to do this, then there are as well several roadmaps. The most famous one is the Sustainable Development Scenario that was published in 2019. But this one, it shows the different mix of solutions that one should adopt to get to at least reducing to still to 10 gigaton of CO2 per year. So we are still not even carbon neutral or even carbon negative. And in this one, we see several mix. Of course, the energy efficiency, increasing the energy efficiency, this is one of the solution and the best solution, including as well the renewable energy. Fuel switch, hydrogen, biomass, those are part of the solution as well. They should contribute to that. Nuclear is in the mix as well. CCUS is also covering 9%. And there are other solutions. This 9% of CCUS, it already makes 4 gigaton of CO2 per year to recover to reduce the CO2 emissions using by CCUS. And this is huge. And again, this is in 2019. So the most updated one, it brings a higher contribution for CCUS. And this number should scale up much faster. Where we are now, and the installed capacity, basically, this is a recent report published by the International Energy Agency, and it shows the operational capacity for the capture, just the CO2 capture, which is the turquoise one. We are still around 50 million ton from the 40 gigaton that we would like to scale up to. And then there are several plans basically to increase this capacity rapidly. And then we are speaking about a growth rate of 35 to 36% of just by 2030, meaning that the industry should pick up rapidly to cope up with the plans for the reduction of CO2 through the CCUS. How this is distributed between the different sectors. So at some stage, we were thinking that CCUS should be implemented only in hard-to-abate industry. I will say later what is hard-to-abate industry. But we see now that it is installed mainly on natural gas processing and liquefied natural gas, LNG. But this will shrink, and then it will just shift to more heat and power. Iron is there. We have the cement as well is growing. This is 2030, but this should scale up in much more rapidly towards 2050. But as we see here is that CCUS has many applications in decarbonization. The other interesting part now that it is also picking up much faster is direct air capture. So I will say, what is that? It's basically, this is artificial sucking of CO2 from the atmosphere. And this one has to ramp up rapidly to basically cope with reducing the emissions as planned. What is CCUS? CCUS basically is, as it stands, carbon capture, utilization, and sequestration. how it works. We should look for the source of CO2, an industrial source. We capture that CO2. There are technologies that they can do this, and there are costs that are involved, and CO2 intensities are involved, water intensity as well. But let's say now you capture that CO2, and then you will have to decide, should we put in geological storage for permanent storage? Should we use for industrial waste to make construction materials? Should we combine it with the hydrogen economy to make fuels, methanol, Fischer-Tropsch for kerosene? Should we make formic acid? So all of these questions now, it brings several CCUS value chains that we should have proper justification on which one we'll have to use. And this proper justification, this is where you will have to understand why and how to assess those one, and which one we should adopt, which one we should just park. The eternal question is that should we sequester or utilize? The positive part is that we have too many choices. If we call this, I mean, I call it CCUS because there is negative part as well, the carbon negative capture, utilization, and storage. But there is the capture part, and by itself, it has many technologies, and each one of them, it should be adapted to the industrial context in which it will be implemented. That's a big part of the story. Utilization, as I mentioned, the utilization is you need to look into if we utilize, are we utilizing in something that can maintain the storage, the permanent storage, or if it is emitted to the atmosphere, then what will happen? You need to look into the entire life cycle part of the CO2 utilization. Mineralization, so several studies, including on the Moroccan side. So should we just mineralize now? We have historically, there are several ways of mineralizing CO2 in the calcium carbonate, magnesium carbonate, waste, phosphogypsum. All of these things has to be assessed basically, and then identify which one can do the job in cost effectively and technically. And then sequestration. And then what are incentives for this sequestration? There is now just the sequestration, the geological sequestration for permanent storage, but there are what we call the enhanced hydrocarbon or oil recovery. So CO2 is pumped into reservoirs that they have difficulties for getting the oil out of those reservoirs, and then they use that CO2 to pump out and reduce the viscosity of that oil to pump it out of the ground. But the question, I mean, to answer this question is again, so it's a lot of know-how to answer this question, and a lot of parameters and factors that are affecting this. The answering this one is, for example, the industrial context, in which context we would like to implement the CCUS, what priorities each country has, what business case for such storage, do we have any carbon tax that can incentivize the storage or utilization, and then is there any industrial symposiums? In general, CCUS is also proposed for industrial clusters where one industry can take the CO2, the other one can capture the. So it is many aspects that affect this this answer. Where CCUS can be applied, probably you are familiar with the different scopes, scope 1, 2, and 3 of emissions. Briefly, scope 1 is what is owned by a specific company, the emissions that are owned by that specific company. The scope 2 is they are caused by a specific company, but they are not controlled by the company. Let's say electricity in general, we are using electricity that is emitting CO2 if it is produced from fossil fuel based. So we are not controlling the emissions, but we are using that CO2, and it is accounted in our use. And there is scope 3, and this is the hardest one to assess basically and to quantify, which is linked to the other type of emissions that are happening in the in the value chain of a specific product from that specific company. Where CCUS can be applied, the answer is not straightforward. You still need to do the carbon accounting and the map out or where the carbon is originating. And then from there, you assign where, if there is any specific CO2 CCUS value chain can be applied or not into that one. CO2 now is, is considered as waste. Are there ways to retain that CO2 from waste to value through the CCUS, or let's say carbon negative capture, utilization, and storage? And the answer is yes. And it can be yes only when you have incentives for doing that decarbonization or CCUS. And these incentives comes from a carbon pricing in the form either of this voluntary carbon market trading, such thing exists. ETS, for example, the emission trading system, the European one. But there are as well carbon taxes that are applied everywhere, and the cost and the value of that carbon tax, it will increase everywhere. So to create incentives for adopting decarbonization practices, including CCUS. The impact of that carbon tax. So the carbon tax, let's say the positive impact, the carbon tax can drive investment and market growth in decarbonization. So as you saw, so the installed capacity is still very low, and then it will just pick up, and then it will create a lot of jobs. The global decarbonization market size is multi-billion by 2032 already, and then it's growing at more than 14%. The challenge part is that deep decarbonization will require technological shift and development. So we don't have the technologies yet, or the technologies are under development, and they are suitable for some industries, not suitable for the other ones. So we'll have to work on that. The main issue for developing countries is avoiding future emissions. In general, decarbonization is expensive, and then countries under development, they find it expensive basically to shift from the fossil fuel intensive technologies to a more decarbonized one. So that's a challenge actually to deal with as well, the financing aspect and the policy aspect. Broader socioeconomic implications for various economic agents, meaning again, so things are shifting now, shifting even the economic activity from one side to the other side. That's a challenge actually that has to be set up correctly. And then you also have the job displacement in fossil fuel energy sectors that has to shift to something which is more decarbonization. We will have to deal with challenges, and governments are dealing with those challenges. CCUS industry, is it for Morocco and Africa? Until recent years, so the answer was a kind of no and expensive. So, but the answer is becoming now yes, because of the context has changed. What we have as context, so we have large renewable energy potential. That's a big plus that we should just take it in the positive side. There is as well focus on deployment of an energy system model, which is driven by renewable energy. We have existing roadmaps as well for green hydrogen and biomass, and all of these are high priority. We cannot tell them now we'll have to bring a new industry to establish that one. But the CCUS can benefit from all of these, and then it can basically boost those industries. And if we see it as a business case, then it can create, as I mentioned, a new industry in Africa for decarbonization of hard-to-abate industry. This is one. I will say what is hard-to-abate industry later. And we also have now what we call the carbon border adjustment mechanism. And this is a new taxation scheme that was implemented by EU. So it is under implementation. 2026 will come into effect. And this basically is taxation on export. And taxation exports means now that we should have certificates that are accounting the carbon emitted per ton of specific product. And those emissions should be taxed, basically. So such thing is coming, but it's creating an incentive. And then, of course, we have a large carbon credit market that can be accessed through what we call the bio energy, CCS, and direct air capture. I will just bring back the same scheme here that I showed earlier. And this one basically just shows how CCUS can benefit the programs, the prioritized programs and roadmaps from Morocco for the green hydrogen and the biogenic. And I call this as C to X instead of P to X, meaning that carbon to an X, and X can be product, or it can be even geological storage, but the geological storage can give you carbon credit or can make you also avoid the tax, which is an X basically. Direct air capture, just rapidly. This is carbon direct removal. I mentioned that there is no strong need, and it's basically imposed, that we'll have to suck CO2 from the atmosphere. There, and this one, it shows a map of what solutions we have so far and which one they can capture the largest amount and what cost it will be involved with this one. Within all of this at Acer, so we are having several activities basically in CCUS. I will show key examples here. Assessment of decarbonization of phosphate, drying and calcination. This is one thing. And we are assessing different technologies. The key ones is the calcium looping, which basically captures CO2 by making carbonates. But there is the other one, which is called the solvent base. And I mean, this is the most mature one as well. And then we are holding studies on assessing which one works best. And the one that works best, we take it further. For the direct air capture, we are also looking into electrochemically based direct air capture. Several assessment studies we are making, and then we'll go to the demonstration as well. Bioenergy with CCS, what we call the BECS. So we have as well several activities now, how to valorize basically waste and how to implement CCUS to bring what we call carbon negative solutions. We apply this for char, methanol, and hydrogen. With carbon negative, and carbon negative means that we are creating carbon credits while we are producing specific products. And those carbon credits, they can bring further income to the industry. Formic acid production as well, electrochemically, is it for Morocco or not? So we're assessing such thing as well, and then we're looking into how we integrate such thing in a renewable energy system on the Moroccan side, but we are also comparing and benchmarking with the worldwide how much it will be costing. Can we think business based on R&D and innovation? So we always, well, business is industry that is selling product or you are selling service, but can we make business out of R&D? The answer is yes. So what we are looking at is for the sake of developing to decarbonize, but also bringing a product to the market that can bring business. But there are some challenges on how to take this further now. So we know that researchers, they can bring brilliant ideas through research at TERAL. Let's say, if you are not familiar with this one, TERAL 1 and 2. So this is where you bring a specific idea and then you formulate it scientifically. You probably also make some small tests. You show that it works, then you become enthusiastic about taking it forward, and then you will take it to the proof of concept, to the technology development and validation, and all of this still happen in the lab. But then we have what we call now beyond TERAL 5. Then we go to what we call the value of debt, and this value of debt basically is shooting down most of research and technology that are coming from research, and then we need to understand basically what is affecting such thing and what is resulting in this. Right, so we as well discuss on what it takes to survive the value of debt that I was showing in the previous slide. Is it the strong IP that can make a technology to survive? Is it the simple working principle that you can show how it works? Is the good energy efficiency and economics that can make it as well survive and go beyond this value of debt? Good environmental performance. I was mentioning that we may be developing a technology for decarbonizing, but it may be through the life cycle of that specific technology. We're emitting more CO2 than we are taken out by that technology. So we should look into this aspect as well. Development cost now. I mean, you have technology you would like to develop. Is it now the investment cost to bring it up to the TERAL 9? Is that an important factor as well? I think yes. Clear upscaling approach now. I mean, you start developing technology, you do research, but do you know how to take it forward up in a most effective way? And do you have a clear upscaling approach? All of this ourselves, we answer them using a multidisciplinary approach. That is combining different skills, basically, that from at early age, at early stage of development of the technology, we know how to take it forward. We know how much it would cost. We know how to demonstrate. We have a clear upscaling approach. All of this, we make it in a multidisciplinary approach. One important aspect as well before I move to the program is that I was showing the emission scopes. And emission scopes means now that we need to analyze the carbon cycle basically in the product lifetime. And this, a big topic that comes to the picture now, and it's becoming so popular, is the carbon accounting in a supply chain. Do we know how to do this? The answer, I mean, the field is still developing now. There are some practices, there are some standards that came to the market, but still a lot to do there in carbon accounting. Okay. Then I will speak about the executive program. Kautar, you would like to say something, or I just keep going with the program and then the questions
just
come
keep
next?
going. Yes.
Okay, that's good. Then to answer all of this now, basically, so we have large expertise in the CCUS and decarbonization through CCUS, and then we set up a program to decarbonize, to basically teach the basics of what you need to know, at least in this specific industry, before you go and you start even picking a specific technology or specific CCUS value chain. The courses that will be in this one is comprehensive. As I was mentioning now, carbon accounting is becoming quite a big aspect now. Even if you don't want to use the CCUS for decarbonization, you still need to know how to do the carbon accounting, because now you have several taxation schemes that are coming, and those taxation schemes are based on carbon accounting. It will be done on two sides now. It's the industry who is producing the product and exporting it, so they will have to bring their own accounting, but it will be some counterparty auditing as well that should happen from the other side as well to check those calculations. So this is quite a key element now to take into this course. Second one is the CO2 capture from different sectors. I was showing a map where CCUS can be is implemented. Basically, it's not can be, but where it should be implemented. Different sectors and different industries, they should benefit from this one. And what is the technology that can suit better to a specific industry, and what are the key factors that are affecting the choice. CO2 handling now we captured, then we need to know, okay, what we should do. Should we store? Should we utilize? Should we make a product? So what are as well the parameters that are affecting this choice, but what are also the technologies that exist for the handling? I was speaking about the scale-up and technology development, and you cannot do this in CCUS without knowing the basics of chemical engineering in CCUS. So you need to know how to design a specific system and how to take it further up at the lowest cost, because the cost is a quite big aspect, but also the chemical engineering part, it will also show the life cycle part. Techno-economic assessment. So everything is about cost. We cannot adopt any technology unless it is cost effective. That's why you need to know what are the methodologies that are used, standards that are used in assessing CCUS. The same for life cycle assessment and social aspect and policy aspect. What you will learn, comprehensive material covering the different CCUS value chain, addressing all aspects affecting its industrial deployment. So I was speaking about the technical aspect. Do we have technology? What technology can work for what industry? How much it costs? Environmental part, does it emit more CO2? Does it use a lot of water? Social, do we have social acceptance? It's a big thing now. I always give the example of those windmills. In several places, they have strong resistance from the social in having these windmills in front of their houses. So how we should include this social aspect as well and social acceptance in the assessment. Legislative, do we have enough policy and regulation that support the implementation of CCUS? And financing, who finance the CCUS? The context as well of decarbonization, you will be seeing it in more clearer way, especially in the net zero emission targets. And then the different technologies and CCUS pathways with the link to the target industrial source. We have a team that we formed from the international level, basically that cover all the aspects of this course, carbon accounting and management. So we have Tasneem Mansouri from GZ and Tunisia. So she's in charge of the decarbonization of setting up a strategy for decarbonization in Tunisia. We have Mohammed Abu Zara from the Global CCUS Institute in Emirates. He's the head of MENA. The MENA GCI. Professor Yusuf Mkhot is as he will be on the capture. I will be as well supporting him on the capture. For the CO2 handling, we have from UM6P Professor Khalid Amrouche. He's geologist, so he'll be speaking about storage. We have from UK the Net Zero Innovation Center. So Kumar, he's professor there. He will be speaking about the transport, and then we'll be having, as we'll be speaking about the CO2 utilization. Chemical engineering in CCUS. So we have two big names as well in chemical engineering, Jamal Shawki and Mutanna Dahan. Techno-economic assessment. So we have as well an expert, Professor Matteo Romano from Politecnico di Milano, and then I will be supporting him as well on this. Life cycle assessment, social. So we have Dr. Ana Ramos from a research center in Portugal. It may be assisted as well with some other people. The course will be in at UM6P Ben Guerir. So that's the opening of the course will be in this campus. Who should join? Engineers, basically, energy and industrial consultants, environmentalists, geologists, chemists, entrepreneur as well. All of these, then they can learn a lot from this course. A minimum master on engineering degree is needed to be accepted in this program. And I finish with this. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Zabot, for your insightful and highly appreciated intervention. Now, let's move on to the questions before concluding this webinar. Dear participants, we are here to answer all your questions, and so don't hesitate to post your question in the chat. There are some questions in the chat. Hello, my question is, what is the best way for CO2 valorization, sequestration, or utilization?
That's basically an important question that I was mentioning is several factors that affect the answer basically, and that's why now we need the industrial context basically where we are going to capture CO2, and then if we want to utilize, what is the low-hanging fruit? Do we have, if we utilize, do we have a market for utilization right away? When we are utilizing that CO2, are we emitting back, let's say, for example, utilizing methanol, you can pass that methanol and that CO2 will go back to the atmosphere. Then do we have enough incentives that that can create basically benefits from making it in methanol, not in sequestration. Sequestration, for example, when we have a carbon tax that is very high carbon tax, people will go to sequestration because you need to do the permanent storage of CO2 to avoid paying that tax.
Okay, thank you. I hope, Mr. Al-Amrani, everything has been clear for you. We have another question. Duration of the program, start dates.
So we are, we are starting May 13 to May 16. So this is where it will be arranged here at Ben Guerir.
Okay. And we have another question. It's about which industrial sector does CCUS have an application?
That's also a big question. So I will show in the map now that it is utilized in a number of industries. Now the high focus will be on hard-to-abate industries, phosphate, cement, all the industries where CO2s you cannot get rid of it is coming from the product. Let's say cement, for example. Cement CO2 is coming from the decomposition of the carbonate, the limestone, and CO2 is emitted. So even if you change the source of energy to green energy, you will still be having that CO2 coming out. So that's one example, for example, but it will be having application in several other industries.
Okay. We have another questions about prices. For questions about prices, please feel free to send us an email in the chat, and we will provide you with all the necessary details. We have another question about how can be enrolled into the program.
Qatar is basically
Yes.
communicating with you, basically, right?
Yes,
With
exactly.
the executive
Yes.
education.
We have another question about carbon farming. Where does it fit into the CCUS value chain?
Carbon farming can be classified basically in what we call the carbon negative carbon sequestration. I was showing graph which is showing the how much is the capacity of that carbon farming can be taken as quantity of CO2 from the atmosphere. The capacity is basically not, is limited. It's not going to meet the target from the different roadmaps by the International Energy Agency and then the IPCC. That's why we will need this direct air capture, the artificial ones, that they suck artificially CO2 from the atmosphere. But carbon farming is part of it as well.
Okay, thank you. We have another question. Can we decarbonize using only renewable energy, green hydrogen, and biomass?
The answer is no. I'm specifically for the hard to abate industries, where I said that CO2 is coming out from the production by itself. It's even if you change the source of energy, then you will still be having CO2 coming from the atmosphere. Another hard to abate industry, that is aviation, for example, kerosene. It's contributing close to 5% of CO2 emissions to the atmosphere. Basically, you cannot use hydrogen in these big planes, and you cannot electrify those big planes. And the solution is this, what we call e-fuel or the bio-based kerosene.
Okay, thank you. We have another question. Valuing the CO2 into methanol production. Does the program cover this topic?
Second question is okay. Valuing, yes, that's basically into the different ways of making it in the form of chemicals. So we'll be looking at that as well. Methanol, ethanol, formic acid, all of those aspects.
Okay. How can we capture CO2 using phosphate waste rock?
That's depending, basically. So you can, depending. You just need an alkaline waste, right? The alkaline waste can basically capture that CO2. But then the question now is that can we make it at relatively an acceptable reaction time? So this is where most of the research is taking place.
Okay. It is possible to valorize a large quantity of byproducts from our country, such as phosphogypsum, in the CO2 sequestration process.
There is a lot of research. That's what I would say. There is a lot of research at UM6P and also at OCP on that aspect.
Okay. Allow me to follow-up question. I'd like to ask why CO2 capture, utilization, and storage important for achieving the net zero emissions target?
Yes, the map basically. So it's we have two challenges now. Is that we have several challenges, I would say now. Of course, now the renewable energy is prioritized. Wherever you have a good renewable energy potential, you need to use it. But you have the intermittency aspect. The renewable energy, it comes and then it goes, depending on what source you are using. And when it goes, of course, you may tell me that we can do the storage, but the storage cannot be forever. So you have a specific capacity beyond which you will be depleted in resources, or it will become expensive, more expensive. That's why, and also, the storage, I'm not sure how much it can be responding and how rapidly it can be doing the response to this. So the way it is proposed now, at least for the energy, if I speak about the energy aspect, so maintaining a minimum capacity of these fossil fuel-based power plants, but then implementing CCUS in it so that you can decarbonize them, but they can respond basically to the intermittency of renewable energy. so that you can make a cost-effective, you can maintain the cost-effectiveness of the electricity price. For hard-to-abate answers, I said that, okay, for hard-to-abate, there is no way that you can decarbonize by just changing the energy source. You still need to have CCUS.
It's clear. Thank you so much. How do factors such as temperature, pressure, and mineral composition influence the kinetics and thermodynamics of CO2 mineralization reactions, and how can these factors be optimized to enhance carbon capture efficiency?
I think that's a kind of a complex topic, I would say. Now, it's
Yes.
of course, lots of research that is being held. So on the different aspects, basically on what affects most each of the process. Of course, we know that thermodynamics is the first thing that you need to look at, but then you have the kinetics that are playing a role. You have the pH. You have several aspects depending on the technology that you are targeting.
Okay,
I see
thank
Professor
you.
Asri has probably a question. If you want to give her, she's
Okay,
raising hand.
Hi, Qatar. Hi, everyone. Thank you
Hi.
so much,
Hi.
Professor Zabot, for your efforts, and it was an amazing speech. So, first of all, if I understand, so your target now is to make like a small program, like a 1 week, I guess, program, where you can, how I can say it, but teach people about how we can do this transition. Mainly, is like a seed.
Yeah.
Program, and then from this small program, are you thinking to make it like a real one? Meaning, is this like a strategy that the university is taking, that to see this is the problem we have, and this is how we will start? Like, this is the seed program, like we call it a seed program, and then from this seed program, this is like, it will be a real one, like an engineering program, toward like having people that they are they have their diploma actually, and they are specialized in this kind of.
I think you got muted for some reason.
You can't hear you.
Just this last sentence went muted. I don't know why. No, it goes muted. Probably it's imposed by. Okay, it's probably imposed by.
I can't hear you.
No, it's her microphone goes off for some reason.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's
Sure.
good.
So I was saying that is it like well-studied strategy? Meaning, we will start with the seed program, and then we are going toward making it happen like a real, like, I don't know, a real program that we have like engineers, or is it master, will be a master, and then after that they can do their PhD in this kind of research. Is it that the strategy that mainly you are like?
Yeah, absolutely, Professor Karima. So it's that basically. This 3 days program is really designed to make sure that first is that everyone now just think that, okay, CCUS is expensive. We need to change that, and we need to show, okay, what are the basics that you need to take into consideration for assessing such thing. Probably many just think that the capture technology that exists is only the solvent-based and cryocap, for example. And we'll have to dig into the principle, in which case you should choose this one, and in which case you should choose the other one. And there are many others that are coming as well to the market. And we, of course, we will look into the different aspects of creative techno-economics, life cycle, whatever. So the participants, they will come with really understanding what affects this industry, at least to make these choices. Those who are really working in industry, they are not interested in taking longer courses. Those who are probably, they will specialize into that one, probably in the operation or even developing whatever. They need a much longer program. And yes, we are thinking as well on extending this one after we present the 3 days program.
Sure. Thank you so much. That was helpful.
Yeah, very helpful as well.
There's another person raising her hand, Mr. Aziz.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Al-Ghafour. We really do appreciate this kind of initiative. So my question is simple. So what role do you see our government playing in the incentivizing and supporting the adoption of CCUS technology in the industrial setting, like both in terms of policy and financial incentive?
That's a good question, Siazi. So it's basically, I think it's coming. So we should admit that there are priorities now. Yes, we did hear you, Aziz. Can you hear me?
Aziz?
Yes, I can hear you now. Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, so what I was saying now is it is coming. So let's say now is that everywhere in the world, so the priorities was always the renewable energy, green hydrogen. They need to see this really picking up and getting into industrialization, and then CCUS is following. What is happening now is that we are lagging behind worldwide, lagging behind with coping with reducing the CO2 emissions. And then in a number of countries, now they started taking serious decision on incentivizing the CCUS, US, Europe, Australia. And I think Morocco will be coming as well. So now, because the priorities was, of course, the green hydrogen and renewable, and CCUS will be coming. There is no doubt in this.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I have another question.
Okay.
Okay, can you explain to us like the potential synergy between the renewable energy source and CCUS technology, like in the industrial sector?
No, this is from two aspects.
This achieve deep decarbonization.
Okay. The synergies are from two aspects, Aziz. So the first aspect is that CCUS is energy intensive by itself, and it requires energy. And if you have energy that is clean, basically it doesn't emit CO2 like renewable, and it is cheap as well, then you are making CCUS cheap. This is the second aspect is that CCUS, if you are speaking now methanol or green chemicals, you will need the C, which is the carbon, and the carbon should be coming from somewhere. So we are limited in carbon sources. So if now you can go and capture that CO2 from industrial sources or even from the atmosphere, then you are finding carbon for the green hydrogen source.
Thank you very much, Mr. Zabout, for your
thank you very much, Mr.
clarification. Thank you very much. I hope, dear participants, everything has been clear for you, to you, and I think we have covered all the questions. Please feel free to reach out to us if you have any further questions. You have our email address as well as our LinkedIn page. We are always available to you. And thank you for attending this webinar until the end. And I hope it has been very enriching and interesting for you. And I would like to sincerely thank Professor Abdelghafour Zabout for this rich sharing. It was a pleasure to have you among us. And we will publish this webinar on LinkedIn and our YouTube page so that those who missed part of all of this webinar can view it later. Thank you once again and see you soon.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Thanks to everyone. Have a nice day.
Thank you.